Morning YouTube, Marielle here. It's 4 o'clock here, and I decided to come here and make this video. My daughter has sneaked out of the house as usual, and my wolf is still out, and my wolf is still out of the country. He was actually supposed to be back this week, but he apparently left his green card here, and I was supposed to mail it back to him, which I didn't until like 2 days ago, because he was supposed to be back. He was supposed to be back this week, and I didn't mail him the card until like 2 days ago. So on purpose, completely on purpose. You know, I saw my opportunity to delay his return, and I jumped on it. I had to, you know, I needed to give myself some extra days of breathing space, and so I took the chance to manipulate the entire situation to my advantage. Now this feels good, but at the same time makes me feel sad as well. You know, to see that we have come to see that our relationship has come to this. When I look back, you know, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, let alone 20 years ago, there is just no way I could have foreseen this happening between us. And but then again, I suppose, you know, this ties in quite perfectly with the subject I want to talk about today in this video. I'm gonna read a few notes that I actually took here. So I'm holding onto my computer at the same time. I hope it doesn't drop. Now, I can still remember my husband's acts of kindness, love, care, and thoughtfulness towards me. Despite how my life is unraveling, I don't necessarily want to forget those happy memories, although it makes everything so much more unreal. I would like to dedicate those happy memories to anyone who is being abused in a way that don't leave any scars. I would like to dedicate this video to those who are on the fence, to those who are unsure, to those who still doubt themselves, and to those who are in denial. You see, my wolf is what I now call a covert emotional extortionist. And the way I see him, to me, he's the perfect representation of the sucker punch that you can never see coming. He acts like the cat to play with its food. He stalks, he watches, he studies, he takes his time to plot and plan. He is the perfect spy. I actually think that he could make a successful career in the secret service working for the government. I'm pretty sure he'll do quite well, you know. Even as I took those notes and wrote them down, and even as I am now getting ready to share those memories, you know, my heart still melts for those good memories. My heart still, you know, still does something to me, despite the fact that I'm now awake, now I am aware, and now I understand very much the ins and out of the why he did what he did, and and he does what he does, and the thinking and the aim, especially the main goal of everything that he does. I am aware of it, and despite that, those memories, those good memories are really all I have, and I don't necessarily want to forget them. And I would like to share with you those memories and of what some of them were. Like my wolf would always tie my shoes for me, and it wasn't because I was expecting him to, or I did ask him to do that. I mean, the early, similar memory that I had of something like that happening is when I was about 5 or 6, and my father teaching me how to tie my laces, and I don't believe I've ever shared those memories with my wolf, but somehow he, he'll just tie my shoes for me, and that was very endearing to me. My wolf used to comb my hair. My wolf always opened the doors for me. My wolf would always, have his free hand on my knee, when he was driving. My wolf always left the outside lights on for me every time I drove back home late in the dark. Always. And that to me again was extremely sweet and extremely thoughtful and loving. Every time I touched his chest, every time I got near him, and I'll, just, kind of touch him and, pat him or something. And I could notice his heartbeat picking up, its pace. Noticeably, his heart will accelerate. And again, how do you fake that? How does anyone fake that? It still leaves me, when I think about it, it still leaves me speechless. I know it wasn't a case of him having a heart problem, because like I said, I would notice the heart rate pick up, which obviously was pleasure, excitement, and all that goes on, obviously for me at the time it was, he loves me, he adores me, so and also my touch seemed to always arouse him, and that got a little bit too much for me, quite a few times, because then it was the usual thing that all I wanted, I would approach him in this manner because I needed a hug, I needed some physical contact and affection, whereas for him, he always had to lead to something else, which was very, very difficult for me, and I guess as well for him. But for me it was difficult because then I felt guilty on top of it, and not having my needs met as well. So it was never a very pleasant thing for me. But again, this again, this was a sort of display that eventually, not eventually, but it to me it showed love as a man, as you would expect a man to show love, I suppose. My wolf would always say that he worships the ground I walk on. And I never heard anyone ever say such a thing, ever. And I felt like the luckiest girl in the world, for somebody to say such a thing. And here's another thing that he did for me. He always kissed my toes. Yes, he always kissed my toes. No, he didn't never suck them, but he always kissed them. And for me, my toes are the ugliest part of my body. That's the, my toes are, I'm just not comfortable with them because they are very, very short. And as a child, I walked around with my toes curled up, which means that on top of being short, they ended up actually just not looking all, really good. It's a habit I took from my father, but his toes were fine, whereas mine it just did not work out for the best for me. So I am still a little bit embarrassed about them, and so for him to show such, to pay homage to that ugly part of my person. I mean, who in my place would not be touched by that? Who would not take that as an admission of love, a confession of love? You don't have to tell somebody you love them all the time. Those are the things that I suppose, convinced me of his intentions for me. Here is again another great example, which I doubt that very much that anybody else in my position, would have seen, perceived it any differently than I did. So here we were. Our children were small, and we just flew from Europe to here in the state. We actually flew here in the same state that we live in now, and we came here because he had some training to attend with his company, and so we came here, and this particular thing I want to talk about happened like the day after we flew, so the day after our arrival, and we were in a hotel, and it was early in the morning, and I was busy organizing something for organizing the family or something, and my daughter was 2 at the time, just came charging in in a tiny little body legs, wobbling all over the place, and then she was saying, "Mommy, mommy, mommy, come, 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 mommy, come." And in her face, she just had that complete look of concern, and she appeared devastated, and so I was starting to panic because she kept saying, "Come, mommy, come, come, daddy, daddy, look, come." And she even took my hand, and then she started dragging me along to the bathroom where my husband was, and she opened the door. She opened the door, and she kept saying, "Mommy, look, daddy hurt, mommy, look." And my husband was facing the mirror, and so I was, I saw him from the back, so he was shirtless, and as I looked, all I remember was the right side of his chest being swollen. It was so swollen, and it was blue, it was black, it was red, it was yellow. It was just a mess. And as I got closer, I realized he had a tattoo. And when I looked even closer, it was my name. He had my name plastered all over his chest. So yes, I was extremely stunned. I was surprised, and I remember all I could all I could say to him was, at the time, was, what on earth did you do this for? You know, we had discussed it. He had mentioned it a few times before, maybe a couple of times before, and I did. He knew I wasn't really fond of tattoos at all. I didn't particularly, think much of them. So, I felt, we already had talked about it, so I felt comfortable, expressing, my true feelings. And so no, I wasn't impressed, and quite frankly, I was upset that he hurt himself to prove his love to me when I already knew he adored me, and I loved him just as much. So it, to me, it was very unnecessary. It felt pointless. But my heart melted when he explained that he had it done the day before our flight, and he was just waiting to show me once the bruising and the swelling had gone, once the swelling had subsided a bit. He just hadn't counted on his daughter, on our daughter, freaking out and snitching up on him. This is what he said. And he had such a sheepish look on his face when he explained this to me. And, and he even said that, he just wanted my name forever on his chest, so that no matter what, so that any woman, this is actually what he said, that so that any woman will always know that he belongs to me. I mean, this alone just completely melted me so much, I was, even though I wasn't impressed, but I certainly felt, I was touched, and I ended up loving the gesture. This memory alone of that moment still glows brightly because of that bright smile he had on his face once I started hugging and kissing him and telling him how cute he was, how touching, the whole thing was, and how proud I was myself, and you should have seen him, you really should have seen him. He was so cute, puffing his chest out, like he had a big audience there, a big audience other than me and a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old watching him. He was so proud of himself, and he was just glowing and beaming with pride. How can you look at that, think of that, and think the person is faking it, or the person is even has ulterior motive to do something as permanent as this? But then again, we had children, right? Okay, so I guess that's self-explanatory, right? But what I'm trying to say is that the love bombing is very powerful and very difficult to resist. Very, very difficult to resist. I mean, how many people have fallen victim of such people and then done it once, got caught 3 times, and very same kind of people, despite already having the experience. And this to me shows just how willing they are to adapt and change themselves, to change themselves and mold themselves to fit their target. it's now obvious to me that my wolf not only used the mirror technique on me, but he also made sure to display giant signs of love to convince me, to attract me, and to convince me of the illusion that he was conjuring up. Well, because you see, I come from a background where public displays of affections are not quite the norm. People just like people in general are more discreet and reserved, and love and affection are expressed in a lot, in a lot of different ways. So to have somebody like him come along and not be shy and claim his love, for me so boldly, so loudly, every day for close to 20 years, it went, this helped tremendously to cover up and for all the red flags and for all the, and to convince me that I wasn't seeing what I was seeing clearly. It went a really, really long way to make me dismiss what was right there in front of me. Also, I would like to point out that a covert abuser like my husband, like my wolf, has the potential to morph into an overt abuser. And I say this because although my wolf has never been aggressive towards me, I have to say that I've seen quite a big change in him over the last year and a half. And as usual, it's been so slow and so gradual that I have been dismissing those very aggressive moves that he had made against me. I have an example where just last summer, my daughter was helping me with my hair. So we were laughing and joking. We were just having a good time. And I heard my wolf walk in. So I turned around to greet him, and all I saw in his face was a sheer look of anger. Real anger that seemed to be directed at me, but at the same time it was so quick, it was so fast, it was like a flash, a passing flash, that I thought I didn't see it properly. I thought that I thought I didn't see it properly, and because there was no reason why, I couldn't understand why, what was the source of, I could not explain the source of that anger. So I thought that I actually did not see it right. Now I know better, and I know exactly why. But at the time, it was the first time I think that I saw such pure anger in his eyes. And as and like most of what he does, there is never a provocation or what seems to be a cause or a source for those kind of things, never. Here's another example. Once again, that was about a few months, maybe just under a year. We were discussing we're reading an important document to help our son deal with something, and I was holding to the paper, and my finger basically was going along, reading and explaining, and we were discussing it. And then at one point he just went and just slapped my hand away, and that was a good slap. And because this gesture is just so out of the norm, for him that I myself didn't even react. I actually put my hand back again and continued like it didn't even happen. And it happened 2 more times. And it's only after that it dawned on me that, oh my God, he really means it. But why? You know, I was shocked. I was so shocked I didn't even say anything. I didn't even do anything. I didn't even get upset. And our son was just on the other side of him, you know? And with such kind of behavior, it will not surprise me that, you know, eventually one day there will be more than that. There is actually a memory, there is actually something, an incident that happened that I would like eventually to share with you, but I'm not quite ready just yet to share it because it's quite personal and embarrassing for me. But I'm going to eventually share it, and because of that, I am pretty sure that my wolf is very much capable of physically doing something to me. And those people are, you know, those coverts, I think usually it's just a matter of opportunity, time. It's just a matter of an opportunity for them to, you know, to get physical. If